welcome to part 2 of cardiovascular adaptations as they pertain to fat loss. In part 1, we talked about 3 common adaptations to cardio. We talked about increasing stroke volume for your heart, decreased resting heart rate, decreased heart rate during activity itself, and then we talked about metabolic efficiency, which those 2 things would equal metabolic efficiency. Today, we're going to dive into another adaptation, and I kind of alluded this in the first, in session 1 about this, about our body when it's more metabolically efficient, how we burn less calories throughout the day. And I really didn't dive into the reason why that is. So today we're going to kind of dive into that. And that is your NEAT, or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So non-exercise activity thermogenesis is basically just like it sounds. It's calories we burn just doing day to day. We're not at rest, but we're not exercising. And a lot of these calories we burn are subconscious. Like right now, I might be subconsciously moving my hands, maybe a twitch could be a subconscious activity, tapping your foot. Basically, it's subliminal movement or subconscious movement, all right? And when we are very metabolically efficient, particularly in a caloric deficit, we find this, and particularly in lean individuals. So say we've been doing a ton of cardio, we're very, very efficient, we have a strong stroke volume, a low resting heart rate, and we start to get a body weight loss from some of those calories, which is a great thing. And maybe we're on a calorically restricted diet, we start to get leaner. Our body, one of its biggest defense mechanisms, and this is different for different people, but typically the leaner you get, the more this defense kicks in, is your body's gonna start to lower involuntary activity. So you might stop tapping your foot. You might, when you talk, be a little slower and, hey, how you doing? Everything just kind of is in slow motion, like on your camera phone, when you hit slow, we just go through less movement. Well, here's the thing, that NEAT accounts for 30% of our total daily energy expenditure. That is a big chunk. Exercise activity thermogenesis is only around 7 to 10%. So NEAT is about 3 times the calories that we typically would burn or realize in exercise. So typically when our NEAT is going down, I mentioned we're also eating less. So our thermogenic effect of food, TEF, so the energy cost to digest food because we're eating less, that goes down. So when you average that in, we're talking about a potentially, a remarkable, maybe a 15-20% decrease in involuntary activity. So there are a few things that we can do in tomorrow's, episode 3, tomorrow's episode, we're gonna get into more what we can do. Okay, fine, we know the good, the bad, the ugly, but what we can do. But one of the things that I could give you in today's episode that you can do to kind of combat that NEAT is to wear a Fitbit and to just monitor your steps. So on days where, like, I know when I get very, very lean for, say, competition or whatnot, my step count will automatically plummet. So by wearing this Fitbit tracker, as inaccurate or accurate as you might think it could be, it's a good standard. So what that will do is it will give me that 10,000 step goal to not lower the NEAT, because it's just remarkable. Like, you'll literally walk the dog less. You'll just move a lot less often when your NEAT goes down, and having one of these trackers can really, really help you normalize your activity. So definitely a good thing that you can do there as well. And again, the metabolic efficiency, NEAT, those are all good things. Those are all things that your body's doing to preserve energy, to protect energy. Another thing on just pertaining to cardio and a little bit how it links to NEAT is they've done a decent amount of studies that show when we are highly active for cardio, that for several hours after, your body may compensate by, again, lowering NEAT and being less and less active. So again, you want to try to keep your habits just normal. The Fitbit tracker is one great solution to addressing NEAT. Another really good solution is you could wear a weight vest. So as you lose weight, so say I lose 5 pounds, I'm now going to be say I'm 190, I'm now gonna be a 185-pound mass person who burns less energy. The less mass we have, the less energy we burn. And that's just a common adaptation to weight loss, and it makes perfect sense. Large mass individuals burn more calories than smaller mass individuals. So one thing that you can do to contradict that is if you lose 5 pounds, wear a 5-pound weight vest or ankle weights. You can literally put like heavier objects in your purse. So some small tricks of the trade that you can do as well as tracking those steps to make sure that your NEAT stays normalized. But if you just get into a routine and keep that routine, then that will also help combat any of the effects of NEAT. So it wouldn't be a cure-all, it's just NEAT is a second adaptation to the adaptations we already talked about. So again, in series 1, or in episode 1, we talked about, we do see some metabolic value from a fat loss perspective from cardio, but we want to make sure that we keep everything else constant so that NEAT doesn't go and negate the rest of it, okay? So that's very, very important that we keep those habits and everything constant the rest of our day and so forth. And you might even feel yourself, especially the more cardio you do, you might feel yourself just slowing down the rest of the day. So just being aware of that, that's really what it's all about, is just being aware, because then when we're aware, we can make the appropriate actions. And that's the interesting part about NEAT, and what makes it really frustrating to people is because by nature, NEAT is subconscious activity, we don't even realize we're not doing it. So it's like, oh my gosh, why isn't this working? I'm killing myself in the gym, I'm eating less. And well, it's because that NEAT is literally counteracting a lot of that activity. So we wanna make sure that we are on top of that. So tune in to tomorrow's episode 3. We're gonna get into some solutions. We're gonna be like, all right, hey, I'm not accepting this. I wanna get the most bang for my cardio buck. Jesse, how do I do it? Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, my birthday's coming up, whatever's coming up. There's always something coming up for us to eat. How do we get the most caloric expenditure from our cardio? And that's gonna be in episode 3. Rock and roll, can't wait to talk to you about it.